See Shea is on, so
Hi guys, good
Hey
morning.
Shay, good morning.
Hey, good. How are you? I'm so sorry. I don't know how we
Yeah,
got that signal crossed, but
that it's
that's
all good. I sort of figured I don't know, Mike and I have had this conversation maybe 10 times. Like there's these webinars always get, and actually Steve and I have had this conversation too. It's like mine says 9 a.m. Eastern, yours says 7, a.m. Pacific Standard, and then if you're in Puerto Rico, there's a time shift that only happens once a year, and so we're pretty used to it.
yeah. Well, it happens every now and then, and I always feel bad when it's on my end, but Arizona always gets messed up somewhere because of our
no
yeah.
daylight savings for Arizona.
Yeah,
I,
Yeah,
exactly.
I take my hat off to you guys. You're the only ones in Puerto Rico that are like, we're not going for that
Yeah.
daylight
Well,
savings.
that and it was 118 here yesterday, so
oh
I'm a
my,
little
that's
yeah.
like stuff self combusts at that point
Oh
almost,
my
right?
gosh.
Like
Yeah, well, when it hits 120, flights can't even take off. So
unbelievable.
yeah, it's no fun, but we're on the we're getting there toward October. That's usually what we're looking forward to. So anyway, well, nice to meet you all. Thank you for being patient. Hope you had some good conversations in the meantime.
We did. So last week, I'm trying to figure out how to pin and unpin people here because I'm about as good. Remove pin. There we go. So now Mike's not pinned, and I'll be pinned. Maybe I'll remove my pin. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, last week Mike did some communicating for us. Mike is a self-directed IRA advocate, as am I. And so he gave us the sort of nuts and bolts of what a self-directed IRA is, where
Mhm.
you can put it, some of the mechanics. We talked a little bit about checkbook control and things like that, but it was relatively high level. And we did it in hopes that you would accept my invite, Shay, to come and give us a little bit more information from a custodial standpoint. So once somebody has decided that they want to use their IRA to invest in something other than an ETF or a mutual fund, they would need to find somebody like you and your company in order to move that money about and make it work in their favor. So that's why I invited you. I know that you have a presentation, and you're I can give you control, I think, and that might take me a second to do, but
I
you just
actually
sort
didn't,
of
yeah, I actually didn't have, I don't have that pulled up because I just kind of wanted to see from the group, what I can go into exactly what you just said, what our role is, how it works, how you can transfer money over, getting the account set up and then if there are any graphics that someone wants to see, I can pull mine up, but it's up to
yeah,
you.
cool. Yeah, let's start with that. So
Okay,
Shay, do a quick introduction. Who are
sure.
you? Where are you? What is Vantage? And then we're a bunch of real estate investors that may or may not have money. We're always looking for other people that have money. So if
Yes.
there's a way that we can approach other people, if you have some insight on that, that would be fabulous. Take it away.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Well, nice to meet you guys. Like Aaron said, I'm Shea Roberts. I'm the business development associate at Vantage IRAs. I handle all of our business relationships. I'm working with investors like Aaron or registered advisors or financial institutions who have clients that essentially want to invest their hard-earned retirement savings outside of a traditional custodian like a Schwab or a Fidelity that are invested in the stock market and want to bring in over a portion of their retirement funds over to Vantage. So I also personally onboard all of our clients and make that process very smooth as far as filling out applications, getting the funds moved over from the traditional financial institution, getting that account funded, and then helping a client get the investment process started. So whether it's a real estate syndication, a real estate deal, maybe they're loaning someone their money through a form of a promissory note. I'm that person also to kind of walk them through all that. I've been with Vantage for almost 2 years. I have a real estate background. So it was a really good fit for me to work at Vantage. I've known the CEO for almost 20 years, and Vantage has been in business for about 21 years. So Vantage is one of the original self-directed IRA custodians that came onto the scene in the early 2000s. As you may know, most Americans feel or believe that the only option they have is to invest their retirement money in the stock market. And the reason that is that back in the 70s when the government created IRAs for all of us, knowing that Social Security certainly wasn't going to sustain itself, and we're typically bad savers in general. They incentivized everyone to tuck money away into these retirement accounts, giving them, dangling that carrot of that tax incentive, that tax break. So it just so happened that all of the banks and financial institutions that applied to be custodians, which was the requirement with the IRS, they just happened to be all of those big names that we know, and they have personal interest in the stock market. So the IRS never said we couldn't invest in anything outside of the stock market. That's just the loudest, they have the loudest voice in the industry. And so that's what we've learned over the last, 50 years or so. So when alternative investing really came onto the scene, and more people were looking at it, it was more high net worth clients. There were some politicians, maybe celebrities that kind of brought light to it. And when people learn that, oh, it is legal, it is a thing, it really changed you know, the trajectory of how we're saving our money and doing business. So our founder, along with a few other custodians, created their financial companies like Vantage, and all is history. So we've served over 17,000 clients. We're really passionate about customer service. We're really passionate about education, which is why I was really happy to work with Aaron and talk to you all about how it all works, so that you can either look at it from two perspectives, like Aaron said, either for yourself, if you're thinking, oh, I have a retirement account somewhere, maybe from an old corporate position that you had, maybe you had to have an old 401k somewhere, or maybe you have an IRA, or maybe a couple IRAs somewhere invested in the stock market. You can bring over all or a portion of that and invest it into real estate or anything alternative. Or on the flip side of that, when you're out there raising money for your fund or for your projects, opening up the conversation with that investor, really, you leave the education to me, but really the magic in this is that all you need to do is just ask someone, do you have a retirement account? And most people do, whether it's a small balance, whether it's a large balance, it's all relative based on who you're talking to. But most people do have one. I think the stat is 75 or 79% of Americans have one. So it's just opening up that conversation. If you already are actively raising money for your projects and you have a solid database of investors and you've never had that conversation with them, it's truly just asking that, whether it's you could even add that to your marketing campaign if you have like a drip that goes out, or maybe something on social media, or if you're on the phone talking to your investors, say, hey, I have this new project coming up, and I just wanted to offer another option. If you wanted to invest more money with me, maybe you didn't want to part with any more of your liquid funds. Do you have a retirement account somewhere? Or does your spouse have a retirement account somewhere? And if they do, you say, well, you might want to consider using that money. And the way that you're going to do that is by working with a company like Vantage, and I can introduce you to Shea. So it's as simple as that. But really, that's what we do. We specialize in providing IRAs that are self-directed. And that's what we've done from day one, and that's what we do really well. 99% of our transactions and our assets that we manage are real estate based. So whether it be, fix and flips, buy and hold rentals, real estate syndications, promissory notes. Those are all kind of primarily what we deal with, along with private entity. You can invest in an LP, you can invest in a private fund, an LLC, a startup company. You can loan your friend or your cousin or your brother money and set any term you want. So it's really cool how many options there are within your self-directed IRA. That
I
was my
think
long answer.
right on. Thank you so much, Shay. That's like that's super powerful on both fronts. Like I think, anybody here that listens to this, if they have an old 401k, I think that's powerful. But I think more importantly, because I know most of the people on the call, pretty well, the impact might be that layer of authority that somebody like you can add to the fundraising, add to the deal. So if I'm looking to raise money and I have that very well spoken conversation that you just laid out with a potential investor, and they're like, yeah, I do. I think that we as real estate investors can also just quickly add a layer of authority. Like, awesome, I'm gonna reach out to Shea at Vantage, and you guys can set up a call, and she'll walk you through all of the details. And there is no way that myself or even Mike at this point can probably explain and do what you guys do, because you're the best at it, right? So I think that if over time we had the autonomy, Shay, to loop you into some of these conversations, that would be a powerful tool for this particular group. Most of us have maximized our funds in whatever deals we're working on, and so we're out there looking for the other, the OPM.
Right.
And if we have another way to bring that OPM into our deal, and I think that might be
Yeah.
powerful.
It is so powerful, exactly. And that's my role. That's what I do. I speak to family office groups. I go to speak at real estate investors groups, or pulling me onto a one-on-one with a special client. And you really need that assistance, and they have questions, and maybe they have some complicated accounts that are defined benefit plans and a pension plan. It can get kind of complicated. So leave the heavy lifting to me, and I can kind of help them sort through their accounts. I even can get on the phone with their CPA and their accountant. We can do like a group call and kind of discuss it, because unfortunately, not everyone, even in the financial world, as a tax professional or a registered advisor, not everyone is informed properly on a self-directed IRA. And sometimes there's some education involved with a professional that's been in the industry for 30 years, and they may be misinformed about how it works. I mean, commonly we'll hear, well, Shay, I was so excited, and I wanted to move over this 100 grand, and I wanted to invest in this rental property with a buddy. And my CPA said, absolutely don't do it. You're going to get hit with the distribution, and you're going to have to pay taxes. That is so not true. It's so not true. A self-directed IRA is to the IRS the same IRA that you have at any other institution. The only difference is there's a name on the front of it that says self-directed, but there's the same contribution limits, the same required minimum distribution when you turn 73, the same taxes and penalties if you pull any of that money out before you're 59 and a half, same contribution limit of $8,000, $7,000 per year for an IRA. So all of that is the same. It's the same. It's treated the same as if you had an IRA at Fidelity and you decided you wanted to move it to Schwab into an IRA. It's just a transfer. There's no tax implication there. So it's that kind of stuff that, more we have these conversations, and if Aaron has me on more often, I would love to. It's really just kind of educating you so that you can help be a myth buster also when you hear some of those things. But in the beginning, it's your role just to, just ask the conversation. I mean, even I'll be in the checkout line at the grocery store, and someone will ask me what I do. And it's essentially like, we just help people invest their retirement money outside of the stock market. Do you have a retirement account? Yeah, I do. I didn't know you could do that. It's amazing how many people will be so intrigued by that. And then they'll go home and they'll tell their family, and then they'll go and tell their friends. And it's just kind of, whether I'm getting a client at that point or not, maybe not, maybe not ever, but they're out there educating other people about it. Ultimately, then it'll help you in the long run to raise more money. But I can go into the mechanics of how it works. Let's say to go to go back to your original question, let's say you are ready, whether it be you have, let's say you have an old 401k and you want to move money over to Vantage. You say, great, I'm ready to open an account. What I would do is email you an online application link, and that would take you to a DocuSign form. It takes you less than 5 minutes to fill out. So you'd start by opening an IRA. Let's say it's a traditional IRA. If you have some 401k funds, we'll just say over at Fidelity. You would open your account with us, which takes 2 to 3 business days for us to process. And once that's open, then I have you fill out a form that I assist you with. It has your current custodian information. Let's say your Fidelity account, that bank account number. You're on that form saying, I would like to move over either this full balance or a partial balance. Let's just say you're moving 75,000. So you put on 75,000. We process that form on our end, and then we send Fidelity over a transfer request packet with our certified, your stamp, your signature. And then once they accept it, they truly are just sending those funds over to Vantage, and that's how we're funding your IRA. Once that 75,000 is posted to your Vantage IRA, you're now ready to deploy that into any investment outside of the stock market. So it's really simple. The process from start to finish, usually 2 weeks, unless the other custodian has some, bumps in the road with their process and they drag their feet a little bit. Sometimes it's, 3-4 weeks, but it can be done, typically in 2 to 3 weeks. And then we assist you with, filling out paperwork to initiate the investment. And one thing that I thought about, Erin, when you were mentioning being a resource for everyone on this call, when you get to that point, maybe you are talking with your investors, or you meet someone that says, yeah, I would really like to invest in your fund. And I was talking to my husband, and we have some retirement accounts. I think we'd like to talk to Shea or whoever, we'd like to open up a self-directed IRA. I can help you show you how other contract, like operating agreements or the promissory note or whatever it is that you need to do, that the agreement's going to look different, a little bit different than your typical operating agreement with an investor, because your investors are investing their personal money. In this sense, it's going to be the IRA. So the vesting just needs to be titled differently. And you might want to put some things into the agreement about how it's a trust and things like that. But very, very minimal changes, but I can help you guys when you get to that point too. Ultimately, your attorney can probably help you with that, but we can give you some pointers that'll save you some time on what's helpful to have in there.
Time and money.
Exactly.
Yeah, attorneys to draft those, some of those nuances up.
Mhm.
The iterations get very expensive. So,
Right.
So Shea, start to finish, the 4 weeks is like max. That's when the sending company is dragging their feet to transfer the funds, because they're probably trying to lemon squeeze some of the last money out of that account, right? Before they shift it over.
They are, or unfortunately, they are purposely saying that they didn't receive the request, and then you're playing telephone game. They're basically like drawing it out as long as possible, because they obviously don't want those funds to leave. So
Right.
not only do they kind of bully the client sometimes, which isn't fun. It doesn't happen often, but I have heard that, where they're telling the client the wrong thing on the phone, and then so just delaying the process. Another situation that's come up maybe a couple of times with me is where they'll put on the form, instead of putting Fidelity's information on the phone, they're putting their financial advisor or maybe their wealth management firm on the form. and we think that that's the custodian, and so we're sending the request to the firm. The firm doesn't know what to do with it, so it keeps getting kicked back because the actual custodian where the money is coming from, the
Isn't
requirement
them.
is that we have to work directly with them. There can't be a middleman. So sometimes that middleman gets in the way. So usually that's a conversation that I have with them now after seeing that a few times, saying, no, this is I can talk with your wealth advisor, but like we really need to get down to the actual custodian information. And sometimes people can't find that on their statements because they're used to working with, let's see, ABC Wealth Management, and they don't even really see in there where the custodian and their assets are. So it's just kind of that umbrella that we need to kind of dig into. But other than that, yeah, I would say just to be safe, 3 to 4 weeks, and then magic can happen and, under 2 weeks, and then people are really happy.
Yeah. All right. So, what about safeguards, Shea? What is your company? So I want to invest my hard-earned money. It's taken me 35 years to save up my $30,000 for like whatever the heck it is, right?
Mhm.
And so now I want to move it to Edwin, Mike, and Jorge, who have a project in Puerto Rico, and so I call you, right? Do
Mhm.
do I have any safeguards? Like, does your firm guarantee that I'm not going to lose money? Do you do any underwriting of Jorge, Mike, and Edwin's project in Puerto Rico? Uh, do you make sure that those guys even exist, or is what are my protections?
So glad you brought that up. So as a we're technically an administrator on your IRA. So our role is to strictly stay as the administrator, the record keeper with the IRS. We are not offering you financial advice. We're not doing due diligence for you. We're not giving you tax advice, anything like that. So the self-directed truly means you are self-directing. You have a lot of responsibility as the investor to do your due diligence. Not only do you have to find your deal, we don't have a marketplace or a list of, hey, here's some opportunities maybe that you want to invest in. We cannot do that. So I love that because it really takes the pressure off. We are here just to make sure that your transactions go really smoothly. You can't ever come back and be like, well, Shay told me this was going to be a good opportunity and I've lost all my money. We are truly just administrator on your account. So we are not doing underwriting. We are not vetting a deal for you. Um, yes, none of that. So you do have that responsibility to do your own due diligence. So it's, but as far as safety goes, I mean, there's obviously risk, just like there would be risk if you had your money in the stock market, but your money that's within, let's say you have money sitting in your IRA, I want to point out too, because we are not invested with the stock market, your money that's sitting in your IRA is not being invested in anything if you are not investing, putting it into a tangible, investment. So it's just sitting in a very low interest bearing trust, like it would be sitting in your, Bank of America savings account or something. So, but your money is secured. Our custodian, our bank has the same FDIC assured, I think it's $1 million, insurance on your money, just like it would be at any other institution. So we are still treated the same as any other financial institution, but we're not selling you any products. We're not earning commissions. We're also not charging an asset administration fee. So like the fees that you might be paying your advisor based on the amount of money that you have in your account, we are not charging that either. Just very low flat fees to administer the actual transaction and record keeping of your IRA. But yeah, I'm glad you asked that.
Got it. Awesome. So Shay, I'm going to open it. We have some people here. I did not get any questions in the chat, and a couple of people have gone on to to do their, their daily deals here,
Sure.
but I'll open it up. I know your time is important. If anybody has any questions, I think you have the ability to unmute yourself, and I think Shea would take a stab at answering anything that you've got. Before we get to that, while everyone's thinking of their question, Shea, I will, inside of our school platform where most of the people on this call sort of live in their spare time, I'll put your website and your email address, in a follow-up post, so that if folks want to reach out to you, to have conversations about moving their money or sending a refer, somebody else that, that they can easily get in touch with you. If that
Yeah,
works.
that would be great. Thank you so much. And you've seen in my email signature, I have my schedule a call, that link. If you want to include that too, or my signature in general, you can share that with everyone. I was going to say, if you have the attendee list from today, I'm happy to send everyone a little hello recap email if you want, or everyone could reach out either way. Or I can, even if you want, Aaron, I can share some of those the slides that I shared with you. They
Yeah.
kind of touch on the transfer of money process, a little bit about like breaking down over the self-directed IRA. If you want me to share those with, or you want to share those with your group, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, I'm happy to. If you're okay with it, Shay, I'm happy to share that slide deck. In
Yes,
a
I think
post for people to go through.
that would be
I,
helpful. Yeah.
I think I think that inside, and I don't want to step, but we've got 2,500 people in 2,700 people in the Flip Flop Flipper group. Not we, Robert and his team have 2,700 people in that group that I am a part of. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I am very excited about Self. My girlfriend has talked to you. I've been sending people to you to have conversations. My intent really is to set up a long-term mechanism to raise money for the projects that I want to work on, and so that we've had that conversation, Shay, and that's what I'm trying to that's the relationship that I'm trying to build. I want to be able to have a conversation with somebody and be like, do you have a retirement account? And I'm comfortable doing that because I used to roll people's annuities, right? So
Yeah,
do you have a
yeah.
retirement? And they're like, I do. And I'm like, awesome. Let me connect you with the person that's going to make this super easy for us, right? And then Shay takes over. Like that's what gets me excited. So anyway, having said
Yeah.
that, I'm happy to share your slide decks. I would love it if you were willing to do another call. My intent was to do self-directed IRAs last week, this week, next week, and the following week. I don't know if maybe 2 weeks from now, that last week, we can get you back on for something maybe a little. We'll have dialed in a little bit more, and maybe we can talk about something more
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah, and if anyone wants to dig into particular strategies or a structure of how you're structuring your fund and you have questions about that, I can help you with that too. Yeah, I'd
Right
love
up,
to.
right on. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Niels or Bill or Mike? Nisha. Nisha's always got a question. Not today, Nisha. Mike's got one.
Hey Shay, thanks. Great presentation. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
Nice to
very
meet you
interesting.
finally. I watch your videos.
Oh no.
Well, I'm a subscriber now, so
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yes, I
so
love your group.
yeah, we are and at least Aaron and I are big fans of self-directed IRAs, and we actually had a little conversation prior to jumping on this morning about what Trump has released as far as opening up opening up our country to some broader investments, basically
Mhm.
alternative stuff. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about kind of what your interpretation was of that release of information.
Yeah, so I mean, historically, and I apologize if people already know this, but historically, the private investing opportunities typically were only available to very high net worth clients, and there would be um, stringent requirements as far as being like a qualified investor and having a certain net worth and having a certain amount in savings and things like that. So those guidelines have been kind of withered down a little bit to make alternative investing in private assets more available and digestible to the common average Joe that maybe is not considered high net worth. So that's good in the sense that more of those opportunities are open. So you may be able to find more investors that can qualify. But as far as these bigger financial institutions now being able to offer, or like big wealth management firms being able to offer private funds or be able to wanting to hold those assets, where typically they're only interested in holding real estate market-based investments. They'll say, oh, alternatives, we don't want to deal with that unless you're one of my high net worth clients. You go over to one of these other custodians and you're going to do it over there. The pressure now is on, and with all of the firms to now be able to hold all of these assets within their portfolios and within their platform. So not sure if everyone's really excited about that, but the thing to consider is that now people are going to all of the companies are now going to start to become very competitive with their fees, because where alternative investing, like I think I already covered our fees, or what our fees are, very low. We would still be considered um, attractive based on having their assets at an alternative investing custodian versus just having all of them held within a traditional financial institution, because those fees are going to be really high if they're charging their traditional fees that they might be charging on their stock market based investments and also on their own alternatives. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays out, but I think I just talked to JP about it the other day, who's the founder of Vantage. I said, "What do you think about all of this?" And he said, "Well, I mean, ultimately, it's just kind of squeezing the competition, but ultimately, the opportunities have always been there. I mean, the opportunities are there as far as alternative investments.
Hmm.
It's just now." The advisors and the wealth management firms who are maybe clients that are more considered the average Joe, maybe having those conversations about alternative investing where they weren't before. So in our opinion, I mean, it's just
Mhm.
bringing more light
Sure.
to alternative investments, but the opportunities are. So I think it's just going to be the competition within the companies who are offering it. It's important for clients to look at fees. And we're hoping that we get to get out there and educate people more on exactly what we do, because we specialize in that also. That's the other thing, is that if all of these firms, like all of the big ones, start offering alternative investments to all of their client base, but they're not used to handling those underneath their firm because they've been sending them out to us. I mean, we specialize in those really intricate deals. It's amazing how many even family office. I mean, family office representatives and people that are at the top of a family office call, and they have 7 people on that call to learn about a self-directed IRA and to learn about alternative investments, because it's just not commonly talked about, and they're needing education. So there's gonna be a learning curve, I think, for a lot of people who maybe all of a sudden want to start offering alternative investments on their traditional stock market based platforms. There's a lot more that goes into it than people think. So we'll see.
Well,
We'll
all
see.
about awareness, right?
Right, right. Having the awareness.
My son and I went to an event in Manhattan before COVID, and it was about affiliate marketing. And my son has self-directed IRA, and of course, we uh, forced it upon him when he started earning money. And So we went to this alternative, we went to this affiliate marketing seminar in Manhattan, and it was huge. It was like 1,800 bucks a piece to get in. There was 10,000 participants over 2 days, and there was some high net worth people in that building that were making buku bucks
Hmm.
with online marketing. I mean, these people were flying in from all over the country, uh, kids 25 years old and making 2 million bucks a year.
Hmm.
And I said, so my son and I go to a lot of real estate events, and there'll be three or four custodians represented at a real estate event with 200 people. But here were 10,000 high net worth individuals, and there was not one IRA custodian in that
Hmm.
building. And I'm really, and Aaron and I have had this conversation, like, and I talk about all custodians. I'm not just, I'm not, believe me, I'm not picking on you at all. I'm wondering why custodians are so focused on going to real estate events and not to other type of events. Like you are going to family office events, and I only know of one other custodian over in Pennsylvania that actually went to a big event that's held in Fort Lauderdale every
Hmm.
year.
Yeah, we're actually looking at a couple. You know, we've kind of learned over time who is the right audience, what is the right audience, even if there are 10,000 people there. Are they mainly vendors? Are they all pitching to each other? How many true potential investors are there? So we do a lot of um, research before we commit to doing that because it's like just showing up to an event and speaking to 1,000 people who may or may not have money or a retirement account is like not really doing us any good. And we've kind of learned that with real estate too. I mean, we I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like more custodians should. We've actually, even though we're really dialed in with the real estate community and we know so many investors and brokers and agents and people who invest in real estate, whether they're personal funds or with a Vantage account,
Hmm.
either way, that's our biggest audience and our biggest pool, especially since we started and we're founded in Arizona and the real estate market there is amazing, as you know. So that just kind of happened to be our base. But being that JP used to be a traditional registered advisor and had that pedigree and that background, he's always been doing both at the same time, and that's worked really well for us. Some of the real estate investor groups that I've sponsored, Vantage is sponsored, and I've gone and spoken at, and even for 2 years sponsored those events, and we have not um, sometimes gotten many leads from that audience because either they're brand new investors, they haven't even pulled the trigger on anything yet, they're just there kind of learning. Um, and it's just interesting. I mean, some are good, some aren't great, or we go and speak to 20 people, a very curated audience who we know are high net worth, and we know these people have significant retirement accounts. And that conversion from that little small event could be more than going to an event that had 500 people at it. So it's just, I think, I think it's important to do both, and that's what we're looking at doing this year. And I love it. I love to diversify around all audiences.
Mm.
And hey, I mean, JP and I even feel like at some point it's not always our intention is not always to go in and come out with someone opening an account. It's did we bring value to you guys so that you can feel like you have an extra tool in your toolkit to have that conversation and be an expert and have your client or your potential investor look at you as the expert so that they trust, oh, Mike he really knows his stuff. Like he just introduced me to a self-directed IRA person. He had introduced me over here. I mean, ultimately, you guys are raising money and you want to make money from your projects, but I think it's that putting on that expert hat and having all of these different tools in your toolkit are really helpful. So sometimes it's just education, and we know it's going to be a long-term conversion, but
Oops.
yeah, it's just getting in front of the right audiences, I think, is important. But I'm with you. I feel like more people should, more custodians should be out there in different audiences for sure,
Yeah, cool.
especially now that there's more attention on the private market.
Got
Yeah,
it.
you brought that up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Bill, Jeannie, go ahead.
Hello. So, quick question for somebody that does not have a retirement account. What is the cost to set one up? And is there the possibility of setting up with checkbook control?
Yes, both. So, a couple things to consider. If someone does not have a retirement account, you can absolutely start. We always say start from somewhere. We always have to start from somewhere. So technically, anybody can open up an IRA, either a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, or if you're a self-employed, um, self-employed, you can open up a SEP IRA. One of the slides, I think, Aaron, has a breakdown on that. If it's not included in there, I can include that too. The traditional IRA, let's just talk about that. That's the most common type of IRA. You can open that with $100. That's the minimum balance just to get your account open. And then because you can't just stuff your personal money into, or you can't like take a current investment and put it into that IRA. You can't just take 20,000 out of your checking account and just put it in an IRA. The government has an annual contribution limit, just like there's a contribution limit on like a 401k. You can only put in so much per year. So the government has a $7,000 annual contribution limit if you have earned income. If you don't have any earned income, you can't put money into an IRA. If you haven't earned income that you're filing your taxes for, you can put in up to $7,000 into a traditional IRA. Or if you're over 50, you can put in an extra thousand. So it's $8,000 if you're over 50 into that IRA. So you're still just going to have the $7,000 or $8,000 in your IRA. Not a lot to do something with. So it will take you a couple years or a few years to build that up. So just keep that in mind, that you really do have that restriction on how much you can put in. But it is best to start somewhere. But also keep in mind too that if you have your account with Vantage, that money is just sitting there. It's not earning a lot of interest. It's not working for you. But we do have clients that do that. And there's also that safety aspect of having money with Vantage, for example, versus in the stock market, because of all the stuff that's going on in the economy right now, that volatility, it's a little uncertain. So some people are moving some of their money over and moving it to Vantage just for that safety net. But so keep that in mind. Yes, you can always open an account. It's a $50 account setup fee typically to open your account, but I have a promo code for all of you through Mike and Aaron to waive that fee. So the $50 fee is waived. And then we just charge an annual $450 record keeping fee. And that pays for all of our services, our support, the documentation with the IRS. So basically all the record keeping on that account annually. And then when you have a transaction, so let's say you have that money in your IRA and you want to invest in a real estate deal, we help you process that transaction. It's a $175 transaction fee. So it's just $450 per year, $175 per investment just to initiate it. And then when that investment sells, or maybe it pays out, or whatever, when your future you closes that one out, it's 175 on the end. So to purchase and to sell, 175 each. And that's it, guys. That's really our fees. In regard to the LLC checkbook control, I was going to mention or suggest to Aaron that we go in another session and dig into that structure, because there's some intricacies there that it will take more time probably than we have right now. But the LLC checkbook control is an amazing strategy. It's really very common for anybody that's investing in real estate, whether it's a buy and hold rental, fix and flip or holding multiple assets within your IRA, that's going to be a really great strategy because you have that, you know, the privacy and the liability protection and everything. And it's also going to save you on fees from Vantage. I'll explain later. But you would only be charged for that one LLC essentially per year. And then all of the other investments that you have underneath the LLC, we're not charging you for because you have really complete control over that money in your LLC bank account. And you're not involving Vantage on the back and forth with all the administrative paperwork on each of those assets. So yes, definitely a great strategy. And we can dig into that more.
What's
Awesome.
is it different limit for a self-employed that you could put in per year?
Oh, yes, thanks. Yeah, so the SEP, which is we call it the self-employed plan, but it's a simplified employee pension is what it's called, the IRA. So it's a SEP IRA. The government, it kind of treats it like a traditional IRA on steroids for a self-employed person. So you can put in up to 25% of your earned income annually, maximum of 69,000 you can put in. So 69,000, 25%, the maximum, if you're making 280 grand, you can put in roughly that, up to 69,000. So that'd be the max you can put in. But whatever your income is, let's say you're making 100, you would only be able to put in 25,000 into that. But that's definitely a good way, if all of you guys are self-employed, to open up the SEP from the beginning. It's the same fee. We treat it exactly the same. And the government treats it like a traditional IRA, same rules. The only other thing is the has a higher contribution limit, but you still have the same rules as far as the age that you can start using the money and things like that. But yeah, anybody self-employed, I say open up a SEP instead of a traditional. Whether you can put in more than 7,000 or not that year, you might have a really good year the following year, and then you can put in more, and then you won't have to open up another account. You'll just always have it ready for you to push money into if you can afford to part with that to live on for that year. So yeah.
We could probably even do a micro at some point, Shea. I'll line up a whole year's worth of weekly calls for you. We can do it
I
every
love
week.
it.
Yeah, we
I
could do
love
a
it.
micro. We could do a micro one just on SEPs because to Bill's question, most of us or a lot of us are either self-employed or working towards that self-employment.
Exactly.
So a strategy is better than, oh, I quit my W-2 job. Now I'm self-employed. What do I do? It's better to be like, I'm quitting my W-2 job. Let me know and educate myself on what triggers I need to have lined up to pull. And then, I think that's brilliant. So
Yeah, and one thing to point out, I know we got to go. So let's just say let's say you have a former W-2, let's say you have an old 401k sitting somewhere and it's got even just a small balance in it or whatever you have in there. You can open up a SEP at Vantage, move over the balance from your old 401k into the SEP because it's traditional funds, but then you can start putting more money into the SEP based on that high contribution limit rule. So
love
you
it.
can kind of start a little base if you have one or not, or it can be zero. But yeah, thank you for all the good questions. Excited to be your guide.
Love it. All right, guys. I'll if anybody has any other questions, we'll end if somebody has one, and if not, we'll call it for this week. Guys, I'll load this onto my YouTube and make the link available. It takes the rest of the day to do that. So last week it took me until almost Saturday to get that uploaded. But so I'll do that and make that available. Shea, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some insight on what I think is one of the most powerful tools, for retirement, but also to raise money. I think that if somebody can dial in the conversation, use you as a resource and the expert, I think some really good pathways to some capital can be created. So I know that's my intent going forward. That's how I hope to utilize you guys. But I can also say for everyone on the call, I like to show people what I'm doing in public. And, I've been talking to Shea for I think it was over a year ago, Shea. It was even probably longer than that, right? That I reached out.
Yes.
And, Liz, my significant other has had conversation with you, and she's currently, figuring out how to move some of her money into
Yeah,
a
she has her account
Vantage
open.
account. So, so I'm sort of putting I'm not putting my money where my mouth is, but I sort of am. Like, we're buying into this, and so if you want to come along for the journey, guys, I'm here. So. Shea, thank you again. If there are some follow-up questions, I'll shoot them over to you. I really hope that we can count on you to be part of our little self-directed IRA coffee hour community here. And yeah, I look
Thank
forward to our next
you.
conversation. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
I'm
so
honored to
much.
help. So nice to meet you guys. Yeah, you have my commitment. Any of you can reach out to me anytime. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll see everybody
Bye.
next
Nice to
week.
meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.